Hi everyone, my name's PK and here I have Glen James here from my Millennial Money. Most of you probably know him, but this is going to be hopefully like a really interesting and really cool episode, something that I haven't really done before. We're going to go into not just property, but just how people can get ahead, even if they only have 5,000, 10,000, maybe $15,000, how to multiply that and how to think about finances. That is really the speciality of Glen. So I'm super grateful. Just before I do the formal introduction, everything, I'm super grateful, Glen, for you making the time.
Thanks, PK, and it's going to be great to have a chat with you and your audience. So, hello, everyone.
I just want to introduce you real quick, even though I think most people will know you. Glenn is a former financial advisor. He's also an author. He's put out many books, I think, like Sort Your Money Out, Get Invested, and most recently, Sort Your Career Out, which we might talk about a little bit later as well. And I think, the thing that most people probably know you about is my Millennial Money podcast. It's a podcast that I listen to. I don't know how many views or how many listens it gets, but it's probably in the multiple hundreds of thousands every single month. So Glenn's kind of a big deal. And we're very grateful to have him on. But I think the coolest thing about it all is that, he's not like me, some like investment banker trying to share his story. He's actually just a normal person. He was a tradesperson. He migrated into the field, so to speak, of finance. So he can speak the language of the everyday person. He tries to do so in a way that's like consumable, digestible, and just fun. Okay. So I hope that this episode will be, really palatable for everyone that's watching or listening. And yeah, just super grateful to have you on again, Glenn.
Awesome. Well, thanks for the kind words. But yeah, I'm just a guy sitting in my lounge room at the moment, slash studio.
Fair enough, fair enough. Well, there's so much I wanted to kind of get through, but maybe we can just start like from the start, which is like, how did you get into finance?
Yeah, I think it was more of I was always interested in personal finance as a young person, as a teenager. Like I read all the personal finance books and just was really interested. And I remember maybe when I was 15, one day I got my parents to drop me off at a community college day session about share investing. And, I'd rock up on a Saturday and there'd be all these retirees, talking about shares, and there was a teacher. And yeah, I've just always had an interest in personal finance. I don't know where it's from. Maybe got some suspicions, not sure. But yeah, I just was interested. And as you said in your opening, I did a trade after I left school and always knew that I wanted to work with my mind and not my hands. And that's, did the trade. And then I started studying financial planning, and then when I got a job at a financial planning firm, entry level, baseline, get started, and kind of moved my way up. I became a paraplanner and became an associate advisor. And then I started my own business, my own financial planning business on the New South Wales Central Coast. I was commuting to Sydney before that, and I knew I didn't want to continue to work in Sydney, which is an hour and a bit away from where I lived, kind of like Gold Coast to Brisbane vibes for you. And yeah, I just thought, well, I'm 25, I'm qualified, I like what I do, I think I'm good at it. And I gave that a shake. And for 10 years, I ran my own financial planning business. And then effectively in 2018, 19, sold that business and transitioned out and put all my chips on the podcast table, pushed them in. And I'm still standing today.
Well, I didn't know those dates. So you finished up with that business in 2000, was it 18 or around
Yeah,
there?
the end of 18, start of 19, I started the transition out of my
Right.
financial planning business. Yeah.
Right. And you'd been doing it for 10 years. So if my math is correct, you started that business, was it like smack bang in the middle of the GFC or just after?
Just after 2010, I started the business.
just after.
Which
Well,
was
how
kind of
was
cool because I
that?
didn't have to have any hard conversations with any clients for the 10 years that I had my business. And then,
Yeah, yeah,
then COVID hit and the markets crapped themselves. So it was awesome. I mean, sure, there was some minor little
it's a sweet spot
corrections.
right in the middle there.
Yeah. So I was really lucky in that regard.
How did you get people? Sorry, this is like a really rude question,
No, I don't
but
care.
like, how did you get people or clients to take you seriously as like a 25-year-old, with no experience, and all of a
Mm.
sudden the world economy's just crumbled? Like, how did you go about doing that?
Yeah, it's a really good question. And actually, there's a, a story that I've put in the actual career book that you mentioned at the start, Sort Your Career Out, about being young and wanting people to take you seriously and whatnot.
Mm,
So what I did was, business 101, my first year of business, I focused on getting people to send me clients. So number one, I would speak with a heap of mortgage brokers, a heap of accountants, heap of lawyers, heap of bookkeepers, real estate agents, whatever. So they could send their clients to me.
mhm.
And part of the deal was, hey, if you send a client to me, I'll look after them. I won't screw them. I'll ring fence you. So if they go, oh, we need to review our mortgage, go back to your mortgage broker. So I really focused on building centers of influence that would send me clients, number one. So they were already a warm lead. I never ever cold called. I made the decision, basically when I started my business, that the day I have to pick up the phone and cold call, I'm giving up and I'm going to sell mobile phones at Westfield. Like I was never going to cold call. So that's number one. The leads were coming to me hot and warm.
Yeah.
So that was a big barrier. Then, as a 25, 26-year-old professional starting a business, I'd have, pre-retirees come in and retirees. And I always remembered that look where they would book the appointment, they would come in, I was subletting an office, I'd get the call from Kathy, and Kath would say, hey, so-and-so's here. I'm like, sweet, I'll come out and get them. Go out to the waiting room, they stand up, they see me, and that look like, who's this kid? But what you have to do, you have to realize, you've got to get out of your own head. You've got to realize that you are the professional in this situation. Those clients, regardless of their age, their life experience, they do not know a thing about financial planning. They don't know superannuation law. They don't know estate planning concepts. So number one, you are the professional. And by the end of the meeting, like they loved me, they really got value out of the meeting, and all that stuff at the start of the meeting was gone. That
Right.
fear.
Right.
Secondly, I actually had another business in the city of Sydney, and I had a very wealthy 65-year-old lady ask me, and I remember I was like 26 at the time. She said, and she basically called me out on that. She goes, well, why should I take advice from you when you're obviously quite younger than me
Yeah.
and I've got all this money? And I said, well, that's a great question. What I can say is, number one, you've had a few more years on the board at accruing money, just basic age. But
Mhm.
number two, I said, relatively speaking, between me and all my friends and everyone that I know, and even other financial advisors that I know, I've probably got 5 to 10 times more wealth than they have.
Right.
And that kind of, oh, okay, sweet. So it wasn't about comparing to someone who isn't me, like someone I wasn't, which is a 65-year-old who's worked all these years. I really think it was about having the confidence, and you're not BSing, and
Mm.
remembering, get out of your head. You're the professional. Look after them. Be professional. Be confident. And also, there is that hygiene factor of, it's hygiene that you need to know your stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, what strikes me is that's like a really remarkable and confident answer that you gave. I mean, I don't know. It's not arrogant, but it's like really confident. And that's just some great advice or great leading by example, because I know a lot of people who come to me in the property space And, let's say they're 25, they're 30, they're maybe 35. They've got some properties, but they've hit their serviceability threshold. And, let's be honest, ultimately, the extent of your property portfolio is linked to your income. That's how banks lend you money. And so they're like, PK, I really want to start a business. How did you do it? I'm like, don't follow me. Like, I did all sorts of wrong things. But they have this imposter syndrome where it's like, oh, I'm only 30, I'm only 25, I'm only 35. How can I charge other people who are more successful in other fields of life for something that I'm still kind of not fully sold on myself? But
Mm.
it's really cool. I mean, that was ages ago. Well, not that long ago, but more
Mm.
than 10 years ago, and you did it at 25. I know financial advisors working at CVA who are like, 25, and they would have no confidence going on by themselves. So good on you
Yeah, thanks.
for doing
And
that.
I think, because I did leave school early at age 16 and did an apprenticeship, I really was probably more socially mature for my age anyway,
Mm,
because being in the full-time workforce, dealing with adults every day, 16, 17, 18. And that's why I think, like, I didn't finish my apprenticeship. Sorry, I finished my apprenticeship. I didn't stay in that field. I don't even think that that was lost, those years, because I honestly still use skills that I used on the tools, and it was a telecommunications apprenticeship. So phone systems, PABX systems in offices and buildings and all that stuff that I still use today. And that's that practical thinking, the forward thinking, and fault finding. Like, we use a lot of tech here in the podcast, and
yeah.
yeah, nothing is ever wasted if you want to look back and learn from that and implement those things in your life. But yeah, it was just, I still remember when I said that to that lady that, relatively speaking, between everyone that I know who is around my age, I am more successful. It landed so well. And I was just thinking, God, that was a miracle that, I didn't, like, what if I was like, oh, I got no answer for you, blah, blah, blah. And yeah, it's wild. And it's for those who are younger and professionals, have a read of the story that's in the book, because yeah, we do touch on that imposter syndrome, and everyone's got it. I still get it,
Yeah.
but you've just got to push through it and get out of your own head. That's all I can say on that. Yeah.
Yeah, I still struggle with it, to be honest. That's just the honest truth. Because if someone's listening to you and making, whether it's tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of decisions, you better know what you're doing, and you
Well,
better have the duty of care.
yeah, but I think if you're a bit of a go-getter, and either you've, like you, PK, you've got a bit of a platform and a profile, you've got the YouTube audience, the podcast, like, if you don't have imposter syndrome from time to time, because it kind of ebbs and flows and sometimes comes in, I'd
Mm.
say if you never get imposter syndrome, you're probably a psychopath. Because that's like imposter syndrome, it is a natural feeling that normal people feel. Like, I don't know if I can
Mhm.
do this, I don't know if I'm confident or
Right,
smart
right,
enough. Yeah, if you're not having those basic human feelings, you're a psychopath.
right. Good to know that I'm not a full psychopath. Thanks for
Yeah,
that
just a little
validation,
bit. Yeah,
Davian.
just a little
Appreciate
bit.
it.
Yeah.
So was it like, so you went and presumably you gave up a very successful business and you went kind
Mm.
of full time into the podcast side of things, My Millennial Money. So it's obviously My Millennial Money. You were dealing with 63-year-old women, but were you also dealing as a financial advisor with, well, millennials, or back then, I don't know what they called them.
Yeah.
Is that how you were
Yeah.
interested
So,
in the millennial side of things?
just in terms of my financial planning business, and the world has changed in financial planning land, it's less, I was probably a bit of a generalist. I'd set my business up that the process and the back end, the systems and processes could handle a 22-year-old client wanting some wealth advice, some investing advice, superannuation, insurance, cash flow and budgeting. The business could handle and the processes could handle that, but it also could handle I had an 83-year-old with, I was managing, multi-million dollars of, her portfolio for her. And also my particular interest was small business succession planning
Right.
and, key person strategies and estate planning for small business. So that was my kind of passion. So I did a bit of everything, and I think it was probably more so to keep me interested. Like one day I'm dealing with a pre-retiree client. The next day I'm talking with a small business who turns over $50 million a year. The next day I'm coaching a 28-year-old out of debt. So yeah, a lot of businesses are steering away from that kind of everything model and niching down. And there were some clients that if I said, oh, look, if I got the call and I said, oh, we need financial advice for aged care for our parents, I'd be like, look, I'm not your guy for that. Like, I still knew my limitations. While I could do it, I wouldn't be confident and I'd probably fumble it. So, yeah, I did get a variety of different clients, and yeah, that really made it interesting for me. And my kind of, for the business owners listening, my ideal client had to meet a criteria of two things, right? The first criteria, they had to value my advice. And the second criteria, they were willing to pay.
Okay.
So it's the perfect thing. Like, so if you, and I had clients in the early days that they were willing to pay, they didn't really value my advice. I'll do formal recommendations. You need to do this, that, and they didn't do it. I'm like, well, what are we doing here? Like, this is a waste of everyone's time. So yeah, value my advice and willing to pay.
Right.
But yeah, I effectively, did that business. I ended up really kind of not taking on new clients in the end because I was generating enough money. The money wasn't an issue, and I was doing other industry things. I was on the board of the Association of Financial Advisors, so I had a really good industry leadership position. Loved all that stuff, and then I was kind of getting a bit bored. And at the time, there wasn't really a general mainstream personal finance podcast for Aussies by Aussies, and that's why I called it My Millennial Money, because at the time millennial was this big word, and I'm like, oh, what's something that rolls off the tongue? My Millennial Money. So yeah, I just basically did that, and I'm always thinking of maybe a new name to rebrand it in the future. I tried to trademark a name the other day just to have in the background, but they declined it. So yeah, I'm, and there'll always be millennials. They're just, in 20 years they'll be 55.
Sure.
So yeah, it was just more of a bit of a marketing play to get onto that trend. And when I sold the business, I just took a big risk. So I had all this money in the bank account. I'm like, I'm going all in on the podcast for the next 12 months. I'm doing podcasting, building an audience. And then after the 12 months, I thought I would review, come up for air. If there was one listener every week, I'd still do an episode for 12 months. If there was 1,000, still doing it. So consistency, trying it for 12 months, at least one episode a week. And yeah, at the end of the 12 months, I'm like, yep, I can double down on this. And I did. And I was looking at my journal the other day, and one of my goals when I started the business was to get $30,000 in sponsorship revenue for the year, just $30,000 a year. And I met that goal, and it's just crazy to think about. Now there's 8 people in the team, so you don't have to do the maths much to know that I've got to do a lot more than $30,000 a year. In fact, I've got to do a lot more than $30,000 a month at the moment.
Yeah, unless they're volunteers or something, right? Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and I don't really do volunteers or interns because I think that's free labor, and I'm not about that, and that's another topic. But so you just got to start somewhere and back yourself. And my personality is, if I see a gap in the market, I'll drive a truck through that gap and see what happens. Yeah.
Amazing. So, like in the podcast, I mean, clearly it was targeted at millennials. In all your experience of all of these episodes, and you must have had a lot of engagement with your audience and interaction, like in the age bracket of 25 to 35 or 20 to 40, whatever it is, what were those millennials? What is the audience lacking, or what is their pain point, or what are they not sure about? Or maybe from your experience as a financial advisor, what mistakes are they making that you are able to plug that gap, you're able to drive that truck through? And I'm asking you this from the context, as obviously everyone watching this, they're probably in those similar shoes. They may be making mistakes that they don't know about. They may have questions, or, like I remember when I was going to say when I was little, but
Mhm.
that sounds like a bit preschooly. When I was much smaller, I had no idea. And when you think about trying to make money, like honestly, your head boggles. It's like, you know, you've got stocks, you've got property, you've got ETS, you've got index funds, you've got managed funds, you've got LICs, you've got commodity. And these days you got crypto, you got a million things in the middle. It's just like really overwhelming.
Mm.
Like, what do you find millennials or your audience suffer or struggle with, and how have you been able to kind of plug that gap?
Well, I think any content creator, to start with, you've got to know your audience, you've got to know who you're talking to. And even before we press record, I asked you, I'm like, who am I talking to?
Yeah.
Because I need to know if I'm talking to a bunch of retirees who want to know about the next great annuity or how an annuity works, or am I talking to small business owners, or am I talking to, accumulators who love property and all that stuff. So I think knowing your audience, and from early on, I've made it a point to really connect and know who I'm speaking with. And as a content creator, I would often have these, existential crisis moments, and I would think, crap, I've got to do this bloody podcast for the next 5 or 10 years. What the hell can I talk about? So, number one, I've almost, for my own emotional crutch or coping mechanism, changed kind of in my mindset that I'm not the professional of all things. I'm a
Right.
facilitator of a conversation, and I'll
Right.
give you my opinion. So I'm just facilitating conversation. Number two, I need to ask the audience what they want and use user generated content to make the content. So that's kind of, yeah, the fact that, over the next 5 years, I've got to do 500 podcast episodes or more, it blows my mind. And I'm like, I can't think of that crap. So, yeah, we ask the audience, and every year we do a census. And in fact, I'll share the screen if it will let me. Oh, can you enable screen sharing?
There you
And I've just prepared this. So you can see here, and I'd imagine it's being recorded.
go. Yep.
Yes. This is a snapshot of the My Millennial Money listener. So 64% female, 36% male. The
Mhm.
top 5 money goals of people who listen to My Millennial Money: share investing, increasing income, buying an investment property, travel, and number 5, setting up life and income insurance. The median age of our listener is 29 years old. The
Mhm.
median income is $102,000. And we've just got a bit of data. Median net worth is 250K. Median household income, 32% of our listeners, or 33%, have a 200K plus household income. The
Mhm.
wild thing is 75% have zero consumer debt. And most people have some type of shares. 15% do not have shares. And you can see there probably a bit of a balance. Most people have healthy super funds. So every time I pick up a microphone, I'm effectively, on balance, talking to a 29-year-old female who's earning
Mhm.
100 grand a year, who's interested in shares, increasing income, investing property, bit of travel, and maybe setting up some life and income insurance. The interesting thing about the setting up life and income insurance for the top money goals of the last 12 months or so is we had a show sponsor who were a life insurance company. So I
Mhm.
think that got people thinking about, oh, I need to do that. So I think
Yeah.
that's why that's there. Um, so we do this every year, because as a content creator, if I do not exactly know who I'm talking to, what am I doing?
What's interesting in this is that the females are 64%, and they are the majority of your listeners. They're
Mm,
making 102K, and the household income is 200K. So presumably they're either married or in a de facto relationship, but it's kind of like the female who's driving the money
mm.
forward in the household. Is that a right inference? Did I get that right?
Oh, maybe. I think a couple of things. So female, like 64%, that used to be up over 75%. So it has come down the last few years. I think, chicks like to listen to podcasts more than guys, maybe.
Right.
And particularly with this type of stuff, I know because I'm a guy, right, myself. So I can speak on behalf of some guys here. Sometimes it's like, I don't need to be explained how to do it. I can do this.
Right.
And maybe women can be like, oh no, I'm keen to hear how it works, or that
Maybe there's
common,
a level of humility, like you
yeah, or
said,
that common
someone.
story, like guys will, buy the new thing, try and put it together without reading the instructions. Oh, I don't need that. I can do this. And then 20 minutes later, I can't do this. And then I'll revert to the instructions. So
Right.
I don't know. I know, for example, our YouTube audience, we've only got, I think, just the 5,000 because we don't really hero our YouTube.
Right.
I know YouTube is a higher weighting to male. And
Sure.
interesting, I don't know if it's a learning style either. For me, I am a visual learner. Like, show me YouTube, show me draw it, all that stuff. So yeah, I think that's a very interesting observation as well. But yeah, I just, every year we need to talk to our audience. We've got a lot of professional listeners, young professionals, and our podcast, it isn't for everyone. And like yours isn't for everyone. If you're on a really, really low income and you are looking for heaps of money hacks and money tips and all that stuff, we're probably not the podcast, because we don't spend a heap of time optimizing how to save $8 on a shop.
Sure.
Where I know other content creators will, where, my listeners, we just want the big rocks. How can I maximize the big rocks in my life? Yeah, I think.
The other thing that was interesting here is the top 5 money goals. Share investing is number 1, and number 3 is property.
Yeah.
Obviously, I'm a property guy, so I've come at this with a little bit of bias. But why do you think that is? Is it because they don't have less money? Their household income is 200K plus, so presumably they can, and net worth is 250K, so they can afford probably not just one, but multiple investment properties. But why is, and I don't know if guilty is the right word, but I also fell into this where when you first start working, it's like, oh, okay, I've got some money, I've got some savings in the bank, I've got income, I better get into the stock market. Why is that number 1 and not investment property? Not that one is necessarily better than the other, but why do you think it's like that in that order?
A couple of things. It's obviously easier to buy shares than it is to buy property. So number 1, I can cash flow some shares over the weeks. I can't cash flow a property. So that's number 1. Number 2, I reckon maybe in the world there is a perception that if I own shares equals get rich.
Yeah.
I don't know. That's
There's
probably
a connotation for sure. I had it in me as well.
Yeah, I mean, and there is an element of, I was talking to someone the other day. They don't want to be an investor in terms of in terms of properties, because I just don't want to deal with tenants and maintenance and all that crap. So I would say the number 1 thing would be share investing, because the entry pain point is so low. It's so easy. Technology has improved that with all the micro investing apps and all that stuff. I mean, and again, we've got a platform that sponsored the My Millennial Money podcast at the moment on our Tuesday show, Sharesies. And yeah, it's easy to get started. In fact, if you use the promo code MMM, they'll add $10 to your account. So yeah, I don't know. I just don't know. That's the answer. But
perhaps
either
it's
way,
also because they don't have their own property yet, and they're not aware of rent vesting, or they're, it's just that whole, it's a bigger rock in the jar, so to speak.
Yeah. So I don't know. But the thing I do know is each year when that changes, and if that changes, I need to slightly pivot my content.
Sure. And one of the things that I always think about, and I struggled with myself, is how to think. So there's this, I quote the statistic all the time about how in the world, 10% of people think, 20% of people think they think, and then the balance of people, 70%, they rather die than think. Perhaps in your audience, or maybe just asking you directly as a person, in your experience, what is your best advice on how people can actually learn to think? So, like, if I ask you a question like, hey, Glenn, my audience has $50,000 in the bank right now. They want to invest it. Obviously, they want to get ahead in life. They want to retire early. Typical cliche sort of question. I don't want you to give me the answer because that depends. Yeah, it's different for different people. But how should people think about that in order to get the answer for themselves?
Okay, so if I lean back into my financial planning days, financial planning, it's actually pretty easy. And this kind of really helped me. I'm actually not that great at maths. In fact, I hated it, my least favorite subject at school. But a good financial advisor is a great project manager. So what we need to do in order to work out, and we'll use the example, I've saved up $50,000. What do I do? Well, we first need to go back to, well, what are your goals? Like, what do you actually want to do? Like, do you want to buy a house? Do you want to travel? Do you want to not buy a house? Are you happy to rent in a capital city and live life? So I think a lot of the first thing to do is go back to what your goals are. And to help people try and think, I really believe it is to get an old-fashioned pen and paper, or you might use Google Keep or Evernote or whatever. Do they still have Evernote? I don't know why I said that. It was a good app at the time. So I just think it is that let's get some data out of our head onto paper. So, well, okay, what does the next 12 months look like for you? Well, I want to get out of debt and then maybe do some travel. Okay, travel, debt. Oh, maybe start to save for a house deposit. Yep, all right, let's write that down. Yeah. So we can start to get stuff out onto paper. And then what we need to do is basically triage our goals. And for me, I'm the type of person that I'm a one and done, one thing at a time, done, move on to the next one, just for that sense of progress rather than stringing out. I've got a bank account for holiday. I've got a bank account for starting my business. I've got a bank account for saving for a new house. Like, let's just quarantine our separate goals, then triage, and then prioritize. So I think that's number one, just to be really clear on your goals and what you want to do. And then I think we go, okay, well, and that's why, and you may have heard it before, and I've got it in front of me. I'll just show you on the screen. When I was in financial advice, or should I screen share? See that, the sound financial house diagram?
Yep. Yeah, I can see that.
Yeah. So basically, the reason I developed this, and it's in the book, Sort Your Money Out and Get Invested, every time I had people come into my financial planning office, I'm like, oh, we want to invest. We want to be an investor. I'm like, sweet, awesome. What are your lifestyle goals? Oh, we want to save up and put the kids through private school. Or, oh, I really want to, what's an example here? Start a business, or we want to start a family, or we want to save for a first home. I'm like, okay, so we do have some lifestyle goals.
Yeah.
Come in, you want to invest, but we do have some lifestyle goals. Okay, sweet. Well, we want to build this sound financial house on the right foundations. And that's why I developed foundation one. We've got to have a budget and a spending plan, just some type of money system. Done. Foundation two, we're cashed up and we're debt free. And I mean cashed up by an emergency fund, maybe 3 months worth of expenses. We've got no consumer debt. Foundation three was a protection plan. So we've got our income insurances in place, life insurance if we've got a family, because if you die, don't want to leave your family without any cash. And then foundation four is the wills and estate plan. Now, of those four foundations, spending plan, cashed up and debt free, a protection plan, and wills and estate planning, once they're all factored in, now we can go, okay, we are building on solid foundations.
Right.
So then having a good spending plan will say, okay, well, we've got that 50 grand that we want to do something with. we go back to base camp. Well, we need $12,000 as a emergency fund. Oh, we've got an $8,000 personal loan there. Well,
Mhm.
that's got to go. So we've just pretty much got rid of 20 grand of the money that you thought you had. So realistically, we've now got $30,000. So, well, let's go up. What do we want to do? Well, we want to save for our first home or start a business or upgrade the car or travel. Well, there's a discussion there. It's like, okay, we need to deploy that capital into the goals. Or you could be like, look, we've kind of met all our goals. We've got the home happening. Um, we've got our spending plan, and the spending plan says, I've got $1,000 spare a month left over, and the spending plan caters for a bit of holiday savings throughout the year and the kids stuff. So we're pretty set. So
Mhm.
we've got $1,000 a month left over. We've now got 30 grand left because we did pay off that car loan and we did fund the emergency fund. Well, then we step into long-term wealth accumulation. And
Right.
that is that roof of the house, like the share portfolios, the investment properties and all that stuff.
Right.
And if you've got a burning desire to buy an investment property, well, we're probably doing that before we start doing shares, because we can cash flow shares with that $1,000 a month easy. But if we put that 30 grand into shares straight away, it's going to be a long time before we can save up more to get a deposit for an investment property, right? So I don't know if that really answered your question, but that's kind of the direction that I would go.
Mm.
It all starts about what are your goals and what are your values in life with your money.
Mhm.
And then just before that, we've got to make sure we're on sound foundations.
Well, what I'm hearing is it's very like a very orderly way of approaching that question of how should I invest? How should I get ahead? It's not jumping to the conclusion of what type of investment property, what suburb is booming, or this is the stock pick, or let's just, dollar cost average into this ETF. It's
Mm,
actually getting your house in order and saying, okay, well, let's just hold on, right? Let's
mm,
see actually how much we have after all our buffers, all our protection, insurances, etc. And yeah, I mean, there's too many people who jump into investing in property because they realize 2 years later that actually the goal was never passive income; it was something else. Like I mean, I'm in property. The number of people who say, "Look, we've got $100,000 share portfolio. That's more than all of our friends, but." Like that's not going to get us to a retirement in 10
mm.
years time, and we actually need to leverage this really hard, and shares isn't going to do it for us. So I really vibe with what you're saying, reverse engineering the goal, and then going from there. I guess the problem is, just to play the devil's advocate just for 1 second, I experienced this myself, is like, you don't know what you don't know.
Mm.
So it's like, what is my goal? Well, I don't know what's possible for me. I don't know what's practical for me. If I'm sitting here as a 33-year-old, my goal may be to, like sometimes I have people say this, oh, I want $1 million passive income. It's like, I don't know about that, like that might be a little bit too audacious, or they may undercut it. How do you like without people like you on their corner, on their side, how do you even know what's possible? Because there'll be people saying, oh, yeah, 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 do this course and, well, you'll get X, or do this and you'll get Y. How do you even get a balanced view of what's possible for you?
Yeah, so we do, we started to record these focus sessions with me, right? And people will call in, we'll spend an hour talking about them to give them focus and clarity. I recorded an episode the other day. This guy had $1 million saved, invested in equities, right? And he just started by saying, um, well, I just want to get to $1 million. So all he did was save, 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 work, 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 work. He kind of regretted all the hustle that he put into it, but he got to his goal. Now, I would probably say if you're out there and wondering if you are a bit goalless or whatever, right? Why don't you just step back and just put some boundary markers in your life to prevent any whoopsies happening? Now, I've always said, if you're out of consumer debt, right? And a lot of the time people go, oh, I've got 5 grand credit card. It's not because they bought one $5,000 lounge or one $5,000 fridge, or one transaction. It's death by 1,000 cuts, overspending, sloppy money habits. And the wash up is you've spent more than what you've earned. So that's often the cause of consumer debt. We've spent more than we've earned. So if you, for example, you didn't know what you wanted to do, right? Here's the thing. What if you worked out in your budget, and for me, my financial plan, my own personal financial plan, it's 3 things. When I get paid, I give some, I save some, and I spend some, in that order. So first, I'm generous. I've got giving and generosity happening. Second, I'm saving some. Now, that is all my properties. They're on principal and interest because I'm a spender and I just want to make sure I don't overspend. I've got superannuation sorted. I've got an investment bond. I've got an investment account in my trust. I give some, I save some, then I spend some. So if I blow my weekly wage after I've given and I've saved, I'm not doing any detriment to my life. So someone who is like, I don't know what I'm doing financially with my life, I don't really have goals, what you could do is you could do things like, okay, first thing is I'm going to save an emergency fund of 3 months worth of expenses, and we'll just call it 15 grand, 12 grand, 10 grand, whatever you want it to be.
Yeah.
Secondly, what if you said, I'm just now going to save an amount, whether it's 10% of everything I earn, into a separate online savings account. I'm not touching it for holidays, for anything other than future me. Now, future me could be a property, future me could be shares, future me could be education and a course. So I've just set that framework up that every time I get paid, I'm investing or putting 10% into a separate account, right? Now, at least you can just go on and live your life without any goals or whatever, and you're still looking after yourself financially.
It's still okay.
Because when that lightning bolt comes, you're sitting on a beach in Bali or you're going on a bushwalk down the road and you're like, I actually do want to buy a house. You're going to have some cash there to pull the trigger, and you haven't spent that money on frivolous things. And then you can go, okay, I think I'm going to do that. And then what we do, we really start to focus. And this is even without having a budget or a spending plan. This is just, you can be sloppy AF, but at least you've protected yourself and you've had some type of savings. And what you could do, you're like, all right, well, I'm putting $1,000 a fortnight into this account. That $1,000 a fortnight now, that's for home deposit. That's for investment property. Now, I would go one step further. If you really wanted to be wild and YOLO and don't have any goals, but I don't want to spend all my money, what if you told your employer, depending on your salary and all that stuff, because you don't want to go over the limit, I'm just going to salary sacrifice 5 or 10% more of my income into super.
Yeah.
Then spend every living cent you've got. You're still saving 20% of your earnings, like your super guarantee and the extra. And then once you snap out of it and get your goals and your eat, pray, love sorted, then you can swing around and go, okay, I'll stop paying that money into super because I know it's a goal now. So they're just a couple of things. If you ring fence some big things in your life to protect you and not waste money, and just keep living and not going into any other debt. And likewise, if you are listening to this and you're 22, you went to uni a little bit later, I honestly think if you leave university and you've got $2,000 saved or $2 saved, as long as you graduate with $0 or $1 in the bank account, that is so much better than graduating with consumer debt or any debt other than HEX or help debt.
Yeah.
Because we just want to be able to, and the reason why debt, it's such a big deal and you've just got to keep away from it, is because you are spending your tomorrow's prosperity today. And if you have consumer debt, so we use that example, I don't know what I'm doing at the moment. I'm just living, you don't have that 10% to super and building for the future. You don't have that 10% to a separate bank account that's out of your life. I'm just living, I've got a credit card. We don't want it to be when you get your act together, when you have that eat, pray, love moment that, I want to do this. We don't want that to go be like, but damn it, I've got to pay this bloody debt off first.
Yeah.
So
I get it.
Thus concludes my Sermon on the Mount.
No, I love it. I as you were talking, I was like, how do I encapsulate that strategy in one word? And for me, like the word that came up was like launch pad. Even if you
Mm.
don't know where you're launching to, at least create a launch pad, like a catapult kind of system. So that when you are sure, and I love these like subtle references that you drop, by the way. You have your eat, pray, love moment. You're like, okay, let me go to my launch pad. Everything else is sorted.
Mm.
I've got everything, and I
Mm.
can just fly to the moon. I love that. Yeah, I absolutely. I can't relate to it, maybe because of my background or upbringing or anything like that, but I can't relate to free spending, like mindless
Mm.
spending. I know like most people do it,
Yeah,
but
welcome to my world, boy.
yeah, it's like maybe because we were so frugal like growing up, we didn't have much. So I was like, I remember like asking my dad for like a yo-yo when I was little, like
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
like and he was like, no, that's like $5. I'm like, okay, fine.
Mm.
So um and maybe that's for another episode, but yeah, just kind of rein those things in. And by hearing again and again from folks like yourself and just concepts like this, I think it inspires or at least regulates people to create that launch pad and not just go berserk with their finances.
I'll use an analogy, and it is that, I did scouts and cubs and all that when I was younger. For me, it's always been that be prepared vibe in my life. Yesterday, I actually did something that I've always wanted to do, and it is a bit of a financial luxury, and it is a bit dumb and stupid. But when the time comes, if I need it, it's there. And I'll use the example. So what I've purchased, so I've got a UPS, right, that I connect all this stuff to. So if there's a blackout, okay, sweet, save what I'm working on, orderly shutdown of the computer and all that. So that's really important if I'm recording and there's a blackout, right?
Sure.
So my house that I'm renting at the moment, because I'm a rent investor, I'm very sophisticated. Thank you.
Nice.
I'm fortunate enough to have a solar panel on the roof, right? And there's a battery in the house.
Mm.
Now, when there was a blackout the other day, the house is wired. So blackout, it was at night, all the lights went out, there was a storm, the fridge turned on and the light circuit worked. So off the battery, right? But I've always wanted to buy like a generator or a big battery pack. And so yesterday I ordered a portable battery pack that I can have at home. So if the power goes out or go camping or whatever, I've got this portable power pack. Now it's $3,000,
Oh,
$3,200
geez.
it was. And the thing is, like almost a fire extinguisher, when you need it at the time, if you don't have it, it's too late.
Yeah.
So house is burning down. Oh crap, no fire extinguisher. But I got the fire extinguisher, house is burning down. Yep, there it is, done. Kind of like that stuff, by not having consumer debt and by having some cash savings on the sideline, when that moment comes, eat, pray, love, you've got that launch pad sorted. You can't build your launch pad in a week or 2 weeks,
Yeah.
because when the time comes, it's too late to start building. You've missed the opportunity. And this could lead into having, like, I'm always cash heavy, which I've got an account which is kind of like an opportunity fund. Like if someone's like, oh, hey, you want to do this? I'm like, yep, sweet. I got money for an opportunity fund.
Okay.
But like that power thing, if there's a blackout and I want to watch TV for a couple of hours and connect it to in the olden days, you just read when there's a blackout, but whatever.
Really
If I still
handy.
want to connect the NBN router and the TV, I know I'll be
Yeah.
able to watch for 8 hours straight, right? So, but that's a luxury, but it's the same analogy. The fire extinguisher, the emergency battery pack, or the launch pad, you
Hmm.
need that stuff set up. So when the time comes that you need it, could be you got fired from your job. Oh crap! All right, I did want to start my own business. Now I can do a launch pad in this, or that moment. Ah, yes, I want to buy a house to live in. You can actually get the ball rolling right now, and you don't have to spend 3, 5, 10 months friggin' paying off debt and saving cash.
Yeah, just as you were saying, like my equivalent to that battery pack is having an Up and Go and a bag of chips in the spare tire area in the boot of the car. Because if my son, who's 4, like cacks it and we're
Yeah.
like broken down somewhere, at least there's like an emergency, something for him
Survival
to
pack,
eat.
yeah.
Survival pack. I'll go hungry as long as he doesn't cry. I can't deal
And
with that.
I think and I've got to really watch myself because like my personality is a little bit, what do they call them? Like the tin hatters or the end time people? Like, what are they? The preppers.
Okay, yeah, yeah. I'm probably the same
Yeah,
actually.
my personality could go there, but I'm stopping at the battery pack.
Or
But
you're gonna have like a anti-alien sort of something on your roof and oh
yeah, but as well, I've bought the battery pack. Just if I am recording a podcast at home with a guest, I'm going to be running my recorder off the battery pack,
Yeah,
just
right.
in case. But
No,
anyway,
no. That
analogies for days, right?
that's really useful. And I'm just conscious of time. I want to honor your time as well. And you do have this that book that I think everyone, well, that was going to be my question. So you're an
Mm,
author of Sort Your Money Out. You've got the book also Sort Your Career Out.
mm,
Um, Last question, I promise. From all the episodes that you've done on My Millennial Money and your experience writing multiple books, um, what is like the best advice? I know this is cliche and it's
mm.
hard to boil down, etc., etc. But like, what's like the best advice that you could give someone watching this right now who's perhaps, let's say, 29 years old,
Yeah.
has 100K income? What's your best advice? And maybe this is a teaser for them to actually get your book.
Well, the book here, Sort Your Money Out and Make More Money, I wrote that, came out the start of this year, right? The book before that, Sort Your Money Out, as you said. Now, this book, Sort Your Career Out, I marketed this as the prequel to this
Right.
because my advice is the best investment that you can ever make is in you and your career and your ability to generate income. You are an annuity. You are a walking annuity. Every year you go to work, you come home, and money gets given to you. That's what an annuity is. An annuity is something that you put capital into, and every year it spits out X amount for as long as you live. So understanding, don't worry about bloody investing in shares. Don't worry about building a property portfolio. Don't worry about starting a business. Worry about the person in the mirror and worry about making sure that you can get the best return from your time that's put into the marketplace every week. And you think, like, imagine if you upskill, did a study course or, something, a certification, that might cost $4,000 or $5,000. I was talking to someone the other day, they were going to do a course that cost $8,000, but it's a guaranteed, if they can get that $8,000 course, it's a guaranteed $20,000 a year pay increase. So you tell me a better investment than $8,000 that spits out an extra 20 grand a year.
Sure.
Yeah, I'll wait. You know what I mean? So I honestly think anyone listening, particularly if you're young in your career, sure, get a little micro investing app and throw $10, $20 a week into that to be involved and engaged into investing. Sure, save up, buy an investment property, knock yourself out, buy a house. You need to buy a house if you want long-term, rent stability if possible and all that stuff. I mean, situation dependent, but you've just got to make sure that your career is set and your job is not your career. Your job is not your career. And actually, one thing I forgot, we talked about it earlier, and if I can finish on this, when you talked about people worrying about, do I buy we talked about the sound financial house, right? And do I buy the shares? Do I do the super? Do I buy the house? The biggest problem that people have when it comes to their money and investing decisions? You can say no because you don't know where I'm going with this.
I thought it was rhetorical, but yeah, carry on.
Yeah. The problem is people focus on the tactics, not on the strategy.
Sure.
So buying a townhouse versus freehold, that's tactical play. Yeah. Shares in super or outside of super, kind of tactical, probably not a heaps good example because it could be a bit strategic, but do I buy VDHG or IVV and
Yeah.
VAS and do it
Which
myself?
product? Yeah.
Product, it's tactics. And financial advisor is more about let's nail the strategy.
Yeah.
And when you get to the pinpoint of the strategy, the product will present itself.
Sure.
It really will. Like my strategy, a wild example is the strategy is to build 3 properties in our own name because we love property and all that. But part of that strategy is we can't have all our eggs in one basket. So we're going to keep superannuation for equities and diversification
Mm-hmm.
and not buy 3 properties out of super and 2 with a self-managed super fund.
Mm-hmm.
That's a strategy. So everyone always gets caught up with the tactics, and you can't lead your life based on tactics. You've got to be strategy first.
Yeah, that's such good advice. It's almost like if you're always chasing the next shiny object or you're chasing the tactics, you're like a rag doll. You just be pulled in 10 different directions based on the content that you'll consume, and you'll never really be content because you don't have a North Star. Or if you don't have a North Star, you don't have a catapult to get there in the first place. So
yeah,
that's really I like what you said before as well around like you are like almost like a financial product. You are an annuity. And I always think like, at least from a real estate perspective, the best real estate to invest in is actually like between your 2 ears. There's probably
totally.
a stock investing way to say that as well. But yeah, I can't echo that and amplify that enough. So very, very well said. But probably wrap it up there. And I just want to honor your time and thank you as well, Glenn, because I mean, it's kind of a unique, I think, career that you've had, going from being a tradie for a while, apprentice, and then financial advisor and advising people who are much more richer than you, but maybe not on a relative basis.
Yeah.
And and then going into the podcasts. I think as a podcaster, you actually learn more from your audience and what they give you. That's kind of what I've experienced, and I'm sure that's what you've experienced. And it's been great to kind of get that knowledge for my audience from you as well. So very grateful.
Thanks, PK, and thanks for everyone listening. And if you do listen to my podcast, thanks for listening. Now get back to work.
Thanks, guys. Do check out the books that Glenn mentioned and also his podcast, My Millennial Money. Highly recommend it. Thank you again. Subscribe. See you next time.
Thanks, mate.